analyze the root causes of problems and to readdress discriminatory practices that impart humanitarian interventions um, often construct with the need-based approach, so in which interventions aims to address practical short-term emergency need through service delivery. So the human-based approach looks into the intervention on how we can address, can be a practical, can be in short term. So the human rights approach is in the short term, which means in the emergence. So which means if we want to provide things in emergence, that approach is called the human rights based approach, that looking into a short term. Maybe somebody can say our project is for 3 months, and then in our 3 months here, maybe we want to give you skills and so on. Maybe there's emergence, for instance, people affected with the flood, and then maybe the refugees, the IDPs. You go down emergence to provide non-food items and maybe awareness or another activity, dignity kits. So in that, it is called the human based right approach, and this human rights based approach requires those who undertake GBV related programs too. So when you are taking this approach, the something that you need to understand, it requires you to take or some measures for you to achieve this human rights based approach. One of it is called bullet number one, say access the capacity of right holders to claim their rights and to participate in the development of solutions that affect their lives in a sustainable way. Which means here you go to direct to the people who are affected. It means um, you're providing assistance to a vulnerable women. So you need to go to these women, ask them, they are the right holders to claim their rights. So you go to them, you ask them what are the challenges, what do you want, and then so that how can we go over this so that they can develop these solutions together with you. You can easily vote for sustainable. So it means you're providing a cash grant for elderly women who are affected with the flood or displaced, internally displaced, can be the returnees, can be the refugees. So what you're providing is to be having a sustainability. The person can easily sustain after receiving. The second bullet access the capacity and limitations of duty bearers to fulfill their obligations. Who are these duty bearers? So you need to access people who hold power or position, the people called the duty bearers, so that you need to involve in so that they can easily be in fulfillment for their obligations or help you in follow up. Develop sustainable strategies for building capacities and overcome these limitations of duty bearers. You find these people have they may have some limitations in either participation or in how they can manage. So you need to develop some strategies that will maybe to capacity build them so that they can easily manage and uh, deal away with the limitations or the barrier. The last bullet here, monitor and evaluate both outcomes and process guided by human rights based standard and principles. So after doing, you need to monitor this activity, what you have provided. Is it helpful? Is it needful to the people? Are people happy with what you have done, or is there something? So you need to monitor and evaluate. So the outcomes and then what next after this. And then when you're doing that, that approach is called human rights-based approach for GVV, which means when you're addressing GVV and then you wanted to solve some of the needs in the emergence, so you need to go for this approach. And then the second one is called the survivor-centered approach. So the survivor-centered approach, this approach means that the survivor's rights, needs, and wishes a priority when designing and developing GVV related programming. So we find the survivors, these are people who are affected with the GVV or victims of GVV. And then when you're programming your GBV activities or related activities. So the survivor right needs a wishes or the priority or designing. So you need to consider these people to be at the center. So the survivor need to be at the center. You put the survivor at the center, and then now what services is this survivor need? Is it a medication? Is it a wash program? Is it education? Is it any income generating activity? What else? Is it a legal kind of support this person need a legal? So if it means legal, you look at who are these partners that provide legal assistance. If it is health, which partners are providing health? If it is non-food items, which partners provide? Because I believe not all one partner can be a multitask in doing this. You might be doing one activity, the other partner will be doing so in this. So once you put the survivor into center, you look for these partners that are, are, are are in need or that can help the survivor. So when you're doing the survivor centered, there are a few things that again you need to consider. Bullet 2.1 says safety. So the safety and the security of the survivor and others, such as his or her children and people who have assisted him or her, must be a number one priority for all actors. So when you're doing the survivor centered approach, so the safety and the security of the survivor should be the priority. That's why the legal need to come in, and then where this person, that's why in other places we have the safe houses for the survivors of GVV. I think there are like 5 in South Sudan. The new one is here just in Yei some few months ago. Um, so that is where a safe place where this survivor is, the security is guaranteed, that when this person is there, the person can access all the services. So again, you need to look at the people, his children, the survivor having children or the victim having children. The perpetrator may not come and then attack the family or these people who have reported. For instance, the case is reported to a chief, or you are the sultan at your area, and then the sultan goes in and report this to police, and then this person is arrested. How safe is this sultan? So you need to look at, these are the people we call who assisted the survivor. So they need to be a number one priority in this survivor centered approach. And then bullet 2.2, the confidentiality reflects the belief that people have the right to choose whom they will or will not tell their story. Maintaining confidentiality means not disclosing any to time information time to any part without informing or informed consent from the person, which means the confidentiality of the survivor's information. If the survivor is raped, and then okay, the case is a rape case, and then this person may either come late, and then you find she have maybe some infections that she is going through treatment. So you find this um the you need to keep the information confidential. It have to be with you and should be reported to the right people. So sometimes when you're talking to these people, you need to ask for that consent. I wanted to share your information to so and so. Can I? And then if she says no or he says no, you don't have the right to share the information. Bullet number 3, respect the survivor in the primal actor, and the role of the helper is to facilitate recovery and provide resources for problem solving. All actors should be guided by respect for the choices, wishes, rights, and dignity of the survivor. So therefore, in this, um, the survivor is the primal actor. So your role as the helper is to facilitate recovery and provide resources for problem solving. So if this survivor comes to you, or you have identified any that needs a help from any, so know that this is the primal actor. So you need to facilitate, you need to communicate, inform other people that we have ABCD, that this person need to be assisted, but don't get ways of how this survivor can be helped or this victim can be helped. But with the help of, you need to respect her wishes or his wishes, the right and the dignity. That's why confidentiality comes here very key, that in anything that you're doing, you need to be confidential. So if means cannot be to be reported to any, so you need to keep as it is your own. If means follow up, you need to follow, and then don't do it. The fourth principle, the fourth one under survivor center, non-discrimination or non-discrimination. Survivors of violence should receive equal and fair treatment regardless of their age, sex, race, religion, nationality, ethnicity, or any other characteristics. So when you're using the survivor centered approach, so you should not be a discriminative person. You treat people with dignity, with the equality. Don't consider their age, maybe their sex, their religion, because sometimes you're a Catholic and then you don't attend to a 7 day. You might be a 7 day and then you may not attend to uh, to Pentecostal, maybe to a Muslim, or this person is a Ugandan, you're South Sudanese, you don't attend. This person is from Murle, you don't attend to. This person is from Nuba Mountain, you may not. So don't be non-discriminative. So the survivor center, you put the survivor in center, leave whatever this person is, or whatever this person is from, just consider the person as consider yourself as a service provider. The third approach is a community-based approach. The community-based approach, um, yes, the community-based approach insists that affected population should be leaders and the key partners in developing strategies related to their assistance and protection from the early stage of the emergency. Yes, Bida, you can move to the next slide. Yes, the third approach is called the community-based approach, and we say this approach insists that affected population should be leaders and the key partners in developing strategies related to their assistance and protection from. You've jammed one, the community-based approach.
It's not there. It's not there in
Okay.
the slide. Maybe it's this one, but looks like this is the same like the previous one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
looks
is
like you
the same.
repeat. So you can just explain.
Okay. Okay. The community-based approach insists that affected population should be leaders and the key partners in developing strategies related to their assistance and protection from the early stage of the emergency. So in this approach of a community based, it looks like people who are affected should be the key, which means you need to consult them, you need to ask them what are their needs. So they are the key people or the key partners, or they have to lead. For instance, if we have uh, people living with disability, and then the leaders have to come from them. So anything that we wanted to, what services that we need to offer to this category of people, we need to consult them. That what are you lacking at your group? For instance, if you may have people living with HIV, and then we are providing an assistance to them, or we need to talk to them. So we need to ask their leaders that wanted to meet your group. So is it possible? Which time? Appropriate time. So they become the key partners or the leaders in developing the strategy, which means their need or the assistance that they're lacking at the early stage. So we need to bring them early and then we discuss with them. So under this, we say allowed for a process of direct consultation and dialogue with all members of the community. So this approach allowed the all people to come, which means when you're doing consultation, you bring the community together, they identify people, you bring them together, and then it will give you a right hand information.
With
Um,
all members of the community. So this approach allowed all people to come, which means when you're doing consultation, you bring it together.
Yeah, engage groups who are often overlooked as active and eco partners in the assessment, designing, implementing, monitoring, and evaluating the assistance. So the community-based approach allowed these groups that are overlooked as active or equal partners in the assessment or designing, implementing, monitoring. So they become the implementers. They help you in monitoring the activities or even in evaluating or assessment, because you cannot do an activity, a need, without assessing their needs. So the need assessment, you go to the right people. So the community-based approach helps you to develop those ways that will help you implement or GBV programming to be the key. So without doing the need assessment from the community, you may design an activity which is not best for the people. For instance, you're writing on a project, you need to support people in the area which is affected with the flood. So you don't consider them. You cannot go. You have not reached them what they need. So you begin writing your project because there are people in need. You go there. While going there, you realize these people does not need your support. For instance, there was one partner that wanted to give a livelihood activities like goats to certain community. So the type of or the breed of goats that this partner brought, it is not favorable to the environment. So within a short period, within 3 to 2 months, all these goats are dead. So when you want to go back and monitor, evaluate this, it becomes very hard. So which means you have not considered the community, which type of support is needed there. So with that, it has brought us to our key message on GVV. So under GVV, we say be supportive, keep yourself, your family, and your community health. So which means your community, you need to be the eye opener there. So your community, your family, even yourself need to be health and protected. So how do you protect? We say GVV is an I statement where they say change begin with you. I can do this. It cannot be we can do. It is I can do this. I can change. I can participate. Not we can participate. It is an I statement. That's why be supportive. Keep yourself, your family, and your community health and protected, and then say no to any form of violence, and nothing can be an excuse for violence against women. So when we look in this, we say women are the most affected people when it comes to GVV and children. So GVV mostly affects women, women's participation, women's involvement in decision making, as we look at it on into all the areas. So we realize women are mostly affected. Therefore, in our programming or implementing GVV, we should consider all the categories, the groups at risk to come in, and then put the right approach. We look into principles that can help us mitigate very well. So if we're looking into the second thing that says the SEA, some of us may include the P, we can call it PCA or SEA, it depends how you you're
Excuse me,
calling it.
someone.
Yes.
Yeah, so maybe I just thought you might have been spoken for a very long time. Probably you can go grab a glass of water, and at the moment we can open the floor to the participants here. Maybe if they want
Yeah.
to make any comments as you take a break, we can take a 2 minutes break and then resume thereafter. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I see some of you have been following right from the beginning, including Daklul Mon, Emmanuel Alio, Caesar Moki. We have uh, Gadmai, and then we have Henry or Coach. In case you have any comments you would like to make, or you want to share your experiences on the topic of discussion, or probably even share insights on prevention of sexual exploitation and abuse before we dive into the session, you are very welcome. You can do that by raising your hand or by just leaving your questions and comments in the chat box. As our moderator takes a break, let him grab a glass of water at least so that his throat does not get dry by the time he finishes these 2 hours. Yes, so Lokule, we're giving you 2 minutes. Excuse yourself, go grab a water, and then when you're ready, you tell us you're ready, and then we move on. Yes, anyone who wants to say something? Just give you also the chance to share your thoughts, your experiences, and what you have learned so far. It's good to be participatory. The floor is open. If any of you wants to speak, you can unmute and speak, or you can leave your comments in the chat box. So if I check the chat box, yes, there. Yeah, previously we had introductions. Yeah, there's Henry who joined from Kenya, and he was happy to be part of this discussion to learn on the issues of gender-based violence. And then earlier we had Joseph Wall, I think, who was dropped, and he wanted to enhance his understanding of sexual gender-based violence and help him to work on its prevention and mitigation. And yes, we had Gwen Chol, who joined pretty later into the session. Anyone who wants to make comments, you are very welcome. Yeah, otherwise, the trainer discussed a lot of things from the start. If you've been following closely, he started with the what gender-based violence actually means and why we talk about gender-based violence. He talked about the need to reduce its risk, the need to promote resilience, and also to help in recovery. He also defined gender-based violence itself, and he said it refers to any harmful act that is perpetrated against a person's will and is based on socially ascribed aspects like age, sex differences, and includes acts that inflicts physical, sexual, or mental harm. And he also defined key terms like sex, gender norms, gender roles, gender stereotypes, as well as gender itself. And he talked about the main forms of gender of violence, the main forms of violence, which include sexual violence, physical violence, psychological or emotional violence, as well as socioeconomic violence. He defined power, which is the ability to control and access resources, opportunities, privileges, and decision-making processes, and the power dynamics, which enables individuals to feel entitled to commit violent act against those that are inferior. And he discussed the factors that contribute to gender-based violence at the society level, at the community level, and even at the individual family level. He talked also elaborately on the key contributions for at-risk groups and their contributing factors, especially to gender-based violence in different communities, the communities from which we come. And he then talked about at-risk groups like adolescent boys and girls, women, and child-headed households. He talked about girls and women who bear children born of rape, and indigenous women and girls, men, boys, ethnic and religious minorities. He expounded intensively on women, girls, men, and boys with disabilities. And he delved into the guiding principles and approaches for addressing gender based violence, in which he talked about human rights based approach, he talked about the survivor centered approach, he talked about the community centered approach, and he then moved on to the key messages of gender based violence, where he emphasized the need to be supportive, and keeping family and communities. And then he talked about saying no to any form of violence, and nothing can be an excuse to, of course, violence against women. So that brought us to the point of now discussing from the different now. Samuel, are you back? Okay. Yes, it looks like he's not yet back. But here in from the prevention, we will then move to majorly the definition of these key terms, the pillars in this prevention, and then we will end the session. So we are roughly very close to ending the session. We have about 3 minutes left, and that should bring us to the end. Samuel, are you back now? Samuel, are you back? If you're speaking, your microphone is off. Kindly turn on your mic and then you speak.
Yes.
Okay, you can proceed. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for the break, and thank you again for highlighting the colleagues on what we discussed. And then this has brought us to see on prevention of sexual exploitation and abuse. And then um, here we have one objective for prevention of sexual exploitation and abuse, and this objective says to protect the vulnerable people from SEA by their own staff and associate personnel. So mostly uh, sexual exploitation and abuse happen between humanitarian workers or actors with their beneficiaries. So where you're providing your services, um, and then between you who is service provider and then people who are receiving your services. So most occasions, and that's how the SEA comes in. And then when we talk about SEA, we look into we break down these words. We look into sexual exploitation and sexual abuse. So we say sexual exploitation refers to actual or attempt abuse of a position of vulnerability, power for sexual purposes. So in the other way, we may say sexual exploitation is the use of power and the position that you are holding, that one is having. For instance, you are uh, uh, maybe project manager, and then you have involved directly with the beneficiaries in giving assistance, and then because you have the power and the position of this organization holding the organizational tag, and then the reflector or maybe the apron, and then you may use in exchange of your services with the sex related activities. So this um, maybe because the person is vulnerable, yeah, the person is in need of your support, and then he says, because I am holding this, I may need you for sex, and then I may give you, or you come to me, I will give you, for instance. Or maybe we say maybe in the exchange, maybe I will write your name, and then later on you may maybe give me a share. So there are very many things attached, so it can be either um, in exchange, okay, in exchange of sex, or in kind. You may say, I wanted some cash. I can, for instance, those ones who are doing registration, it happened with one of the partner. They're doing beneficiaries registration, and then people who are involved in registration, they begin charging the beneficiaries some cash, so that if you have not paid, you may not get this assistance. So you're exploiting your beneficiaries. And then Sexual abuse is any sexual behavior or sexual act upon women, men, or child without their consent. So this you're abusing the person's um, sexually without the consent, and this can be through the sexual, maybe the touches, the images. You may be sharing these images for this person, and then because you have, for instance, um, you're the boss, and then I says I want to give you this position, but before I give you, I wanted to sleep with you, or maybe before you get my assistant, I have to sleep with you. And sometimes your sexual organs are not, you are not using it the way it is designed for. For instance, some of us may go beyond in using our sexual, when you're abusing yourself sexually. Sometimes the exposure, the misuse of your body. For instance, we were created to have all the sexual tools, but sometimes we may not use them in the proper way. Some of us may misuse. So therefore, when you misuse, it becomes a sexual abuse. But here we are not meaning in the other way you're using, but use of sex in exchange for your assistant as a humanitarian worker or as a service provider. So the other time here we may, though it is not, we are looking into sexual harassment versus the SEA. So the sexual harassment, um, SEA occurs against or between beneficiaries or vulnerable members of the community. So, which means it occurs between the partners, the workers, the partner workers, and the beneficiaries or the vulnerable people that you're providing services. But here, the sexual harassment, this occurs within the organization, or within, for instance, if you're the HR, and then in the recruitment process, or maybe because you have the power there, you may try to play around with your subordinate or with your people within you. They say maybe per week I have to sleep with you, or maybe you, when you're touching, it says you don't talk because I'm the boss. When you talk, when you touch the breast, or maybe you give a kiss, maybe what, you cannot talk because I am the boss. So that happens within the organization staffs are abused, where their power difference comes in. The person is having the other power, and then that's why when we look into power over, some of us are misusing power over in managing. So without knowing that the use of the authority, if it is not used well, it may violate one's right in participation. And then looking into GVV versus SEA. So it says GVV is a violation that is penetrated against someone's will because of his or her, maybe it can be the age, the sex, and whatever. Because when we look into the major definition says without the person's will. So SEA, it can be seen as another type of gender-based violence, but um, it abuse mostly with the vulnerable. So gender-based violence affects everyone, whether you're man, woman, a boy or girl. But here, mostly, okay, though it affects everyone, but in exchange of maybe the vulnerability of that person. He says because you're unable to do this, but once you accept me, I will provide for you these services. These are the most key terms, and then we're doing the comparison between sexual harassment, GVV versus SEA, and then the abuse. So when we look into the protection aspect, what does it mean for us to protect as humanitarian workers? When we talk about SEA, it doesn't mean those ones who are even working with the organizations, can even happen at the schools. Some teachers may use to exploit their students or their pupils. May say, if you accept me to become your man, I will add for you marks at the end. Yeah. And even at the health facilities, says because I'm the clinical officer, I need to sleep with you so that I give you the best medication. Especially it happened with one of the attendant. So she was attending the mother who is admitted, and then the medical personnel comes in, I'm the CEO here or the clinical officer. For me to give the best treatment to your mom, the only thing, you come to my room, I have a private discussions with you. So this person went in, and then this clinical officer says, oh, you know what? You're very beautiful. I wanted to have sex with you so that I will treat your mother. If you don't want to sleep with me, I may not. I treat your mother. So, in this facility, I'm the boss. So because this lady wanted to save the mother and thought this is the only way to go, you have to accept, but it is not the right procedure. That's why it comes across everyone who is a service provider. Even with our local chiefs, it may happen. I don't know if we have some chiefs here, some sultanat around. You see, the sultan may hide your case, or even like the police may hide your case because it says, "I wanted you. Don't don't proceed with my case." Not even the bribing, but with sexual exchange. So it may happen with every service provider, not even specifically the human partner, yeah, the humanitarian. But here we are looking into more of the humanitarian partners. But I was putting this because it may happen the other angles, and then we think it is not the right procedures. Yes, we can move to the next slide. Yes, we say SEA refers to a policy, rules, and actions intended to prevent a person from engaging in any form of CRN. Respond where it has occurred. So this is the policy, the SEA prevention of sexual exploitation and abuse. It's a policy or a rule that is applied to all the service providers or to all the humanitarian partners not to engage in any form of sexual exploitation and abuse. Therefore, what it is requested from us is to respond or report where it has occurred, which means if there's any other way that these things is happening and you've come across, or one of the person has come to you, says, you know what, so and so is doing this to me, please don't keep it quiet. Report to the next person, because when we go in where I am, they are reporting pathways where you can report, and then there are some reporting mechanisms. It differs from where you are, and then from where I am, there are some reporting mechanisms that you can go and you report. For instance, if somebody is raped, and then if the first step is to go and meet the health center, go to one stop center, we encourage these survivors to come with the green lip and then go where the gate man is or the security personnel, just show this leaf, the green lip, and then this person immediately will direct this person to where the service providers or to the one-stop center or where there's need for help. So it differs. So this person may go there and then begin the procedures. This person may go if there's need for legal. That's why the legal procedures will be taken. So this is a policy, and then if this is the reporting mechanism, if I'm the one doing, I have my supervisor. So people have to call my supervisor, telling, and then my supervisor may try to get some investigation mechanism, set some committee to investigate the issue if it is true, and then some steps have to be taken, and it because it is having a penalty when you're part of it. So the pillars of this year, there are 4 pillars, and it include management and coordination, community engagement, prevention, and response. So these pillars helps you in managing and coordination. So if we don't talk about it, when we don't aware people about this, we realize our community have been uh, exploited, abused sexually. So therefore, it calls for us to manage or trying to inform our staffs so that our organizations or our workplaces or we ourselves will not be a victims or a perpetrators of gender-based of CR, sorry. And then coordination, it will help us to coordinate with who provide services. And then the community engagement. We realize our community doesn't know what services or what things that we're doing. They think it is the right way. When we say, I am providing services, humanitarian services, and then you have to pay maybe some registration fee. The community will easily, because they're in need, and they will do. But once we engage them and then tell them the reporting mechanisms, what they will do, we empower them, we give them the right tools, we can easily reduce. And then the response will easily come very fast. So you see people responding from all the angles and provide a comprehensive framework for incorporating SEA prevention and response throughout your organization. By implementing all these pillars, by managing coordination, community engagement, prevention, and response, so you have a comprehensive framework. So which means anyone that comes in, it should be given into the in other organizations now. I think most, before you sign the contract, they will give you this policy, the SEA policy or the code of conduct for staffs, and these have to be there. Do not harm principle is one of it, and then the sexual exploitation policy have to be there, so that any staff that have been recruited, you will not be in a victim of SEA. So it will give the organization a really framework that responds very fast. If anything arises, you see the work becomes in it. And then what are these consequences of this? We say any staff, associate or partner who is in violation of this policy, SEA policy, will face disciplinary procedures which may result in termination of contract or referral to appropriate law enhancement agency or legal authorities. So this is in general, but you may name the consequence that may come in. Yeah, once your contract is terminated or people knows you that this is the person who is using the organization name for sexual pleasures or for gaining respect, you may, once you're removed out, it may lower your reputation, or maybe sometimes you'll be exposed to sexual transmitted diseases. Your family may even lose trust. Sometimes if the police says if you're one of the staff being found guilty of this, your documents have to be confiscated and then taken away from you. I don't know where will you go. You have studied for 21 years and then your documents are nowhere to be seen. So you see the consequences are very huge. So here in this consequence, I just put it all, but there are very many you can mention them. If they are working, it's the only source of getting income, and then your contract is terminated. So which means you may not get another way of getting income. You are now becoming unemployment. You see, you may either join the other bad groups. You may begin opposing these partners. You see the consequence becomes more and more for you. So when you're taken to the hands of the law or the law authorities, they may say maybe 10 years in prison. You see, where will you be? And then when you're working, you're a community figure that everyone knows that so and so is working and you're providing equal things. Once you're doing something small, the way your name will move around and everyone knows that this is the person. So your movement, it becomes very limited in the society or in the community. So this has brought us to the end of my presentation. If there is some questions or any comment or addition, it's most welcome. Anyone with any question or any addition under sexual exploitation or what I have said, and then we we get in touch.
Yeah, great. First, thank you so much, Samuel, for the session. It has been very in depth, very elaborate, and I see I've learned a lot of things myself, especially going forward and seeing how to design interventions, especially around sexual exploitation and abuse, as well as the prevention of sexual exploitation and abuse. in our communities, in my workplace, even at home, and in all my interactions. So it should be something like part of my part of my life now. And I want to sincerely thank you so much for that. From my end, I do not have any specific questions, except if some of the participants have questions, you can please bring forward. If you have any questions, you can bring forward. I've checked the chat box, and there seems to be no question that has been brought the by the participants. And I see Gwen Chuol is saying wonderful presentation. He's sending his appreciation to you. If there are no questions, I think we will have to end it here. And we want to say thank you so much, Samuel, once again for the nice presentation. We wish everyone the very best of their evening, and
Yeah,
take very, very good care of yourselves. Anyone who wants to
yeah.
ask?
Thank you so much for this presentation. It really helped. Though I joined lately, but I was able to pick something which will help me a lot. And I don't have some much to say. It is really a very wonderful presentation for the first time to do it in this site here. My question is because I came late, I joined late anyway. Can you be able to forward for me or and the other participants you presented on the email so that we can read at our own time?
Yes, yes, sure. We will share the presentation shortly. Just after
Okay,
ending this call, we will send the presentation to your emails. It will be sent via link, and then you will download the PDF from SlideShare.
okay, thank you so much. I think
You're
that's
welcome.
what I was asking, and I am just saying let it not be the last. It is really very enjoyable. It is very enjoyable. We need if people can organize another time, if then we can also do it. This kind of GBV really, I am even catching myself as a criminal because other things like especially at home and the treatment of the children. You see, here
Yeah,
at
yeah,
home,
yeah,
things is really it has taught me a lot. Eh? It has taught
yeah,
me a
sure.
lot,
Yeah,
and
so these
I
sessions, these
still need
sessions
more.
happen. These sessions happen every 2 weeks. So
Yes.
I don't know if you are part of our WhatsApp group, but you should join the WhatsApp group to follow real-time updates from there, especially on the frequency of that session. They usually happen on a range of topics.
Okay.
Yeah, are you part of the WhatsApp group?
I think I don't know exactly, but there's another WhatsApp group about interest written.
No,
There's
it's called Your Skill Boost.
a skill boost.
Mm.
Uh, I think maybe
If you are not
I
part of
don't.
it, then yeah,
Yes.
if you are not part of it, then you have to join. I am leaving the
Yes.
link to the group in the chat box. That is the link.
Okay.
So,
Uh,
yeah, click that link and you should be able to join the WhatsApp group. Thank you.
okay. Thank
Otherwise,
you so.
we'll send the session. Yeah, and then I see Dak
Yeah.
Lul Mon is saying thank you so much for leading the workshop on the topic, and he really enjoyed the session. Thank you, Lul, for being part of